Welcome to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast, where world-changing spiritual entrepreneurs come to deeply awaken the power within to bring forth their greatest purpose, to create massive awakened impact for millions of souls around the planet, while enjoying being in tune with all life and real wealth in all aspects of their lives. I'm your host, Daniel John Hanneman. Hello, everybody. Here we are again, another amazing Spiritual Rockstar podcast show. And I've got a very amazing, unique guest. We don't have guests like Andrea on every day. So I'm just so grateful. She is a rock star. She is absolutely she's been to the blazing lights and all that stuff in the world, and got some notoriety, fame, and all that stuff, and on TV, broadcasting, all this stuff. And so it's amazing to interview her. She's had this big awakening. Now, she is like in this depth of connection that she's always been in, but yet she's waking up to this depth and enlightenment that's so easy, it's so simple, that I point to in my own programs too. I would say we're all different, but I know I can feel it. I can feel the energy already. And she's like, man, everything's grace and miracles. And she's gonna step you right into that. We're gonna get started in one moment. Want to meditate and make money? Let it be simple. Let it be easy. Let it be fun. Go to yoursacredpurpose.com and get your free Meditate and Make Money meditation today. Andrea, it's just such a pleasure to have you here today.
Oh my gosh, Daniel, I am so excited. I love your show. I love what you do. And I'm just honored to even be amongst some of the legends I feel you've had on as guests. So thank you so much for having me. And I am so excited to see where this conversation goes.
Me too. Me too. I love it. I love it. So let me go ahead and share about Andrea. Andrea Lowell is a self-mastery coach from Long Beach, California. After spending half her life in the entertainment industry, she discovered it's not quote unquote being on TV, having a house on the beach, or a cool car in the driveway that equates to success, even though a lot of us are like, oh, I love that. In fact, she was miserable when she quote unquote had it all. Something we talk about a lot on this show. So I look forward to diving into that today. She used her own despair and hopelessness as a fertile ground for radical self-improvement and personal growth. After an instant awakening in 2012, she put herself to work, inner work, yes, and also by incorporating decades of research into quantum mechanics, ancient wisdom, and self-healing. She's used this knowledge and experience to create a blueprint-for-bliss course at the suggestion of a client. So I love it. It's just organic, and she has now guided countless women from any and all stages of their current personal development, personal pain, stagnation, or frustration into self-mastered queens. Yes, her formula is proven and simple. She has discovered that by integrating her knowledge into a daily lifestyle, she has uncovered the keys to living drama-free. Oh, please, guys, drama-free is the best. Guilt-free, shame-free, full of self-worth, self-love, joy, purpose, and abundance. Andrea is happily married to her partner of 20 years, James. They love to spend as much time in nature as possible. Of course, that's we're just talking about me and my friends. The greatest teacher is nature, right? Opting to overland and backpack for their vacations. They have found that the less they desire, oh, I love this part, the less they desire, the more they have, and the more they receive. Inner peace and bliss are what Andrea has found to be the result of her lifestyle and outlook on life. Oh my goodness. So what an amazing, we could learn just from listening to the bio, just read that 1,000 times. You're learning because it's like, oh my God, the less I desire, I thought I have to have a burning desire. I have to make it happen. Right? So Andrea, I imagine, I don't know, a lot of people that so-called make this big lifestyle or do big things and, whatever industry it is, but they say, a lot of people, they create it from that place, right? The think and grow rich kind of way, burning desire, putting your all into it and all that sort of stuff. I'm curious if it's okay if we start here. Is that how you initially created all this sense of success and the outward success and all that? Is that sort of how it happened for you, or is it another way?
I didn't ever desire success in that regard.
Okay, interesting. Cool.
I can look back at my life and I can see how I manifested every situation I was in by my belief system and my frequency. So everything was a match. It's like, even when I look back, and I know you briefly mentioned my relationship with my husband, I can see how we were a perfect vibrational match that time that we met. Also, like me ending up on TV, I ended up doing a couple of reality shows. I remember being so egotistical that I watched this specific reality show and I thought, I can be on that show. Why am I not on that show? I am so worthy of being on that show. And I got on that show by like the freakiest, slew of coincidences, which we know are not coincidences at all. So it was never like a burning desire. It's not like, Abraham Hicks says, where I shot out this rocket of desire and then it all came back. Literally, for me, it is, though, that vibrational alignment and
Mhm.
what I believe, and that underlying, inner constitution, what I truly believe in every cell of my body, that is what manifests in my life. So that's kind of how I figured out, oh, okay. So if it's vibrational and if it's beliefs, I need to deprogram all of my horrible bogus beliefs, especially about myself and society and what it means to get ahead and be successful. I need to do the right thing. I need to build self-esteem. I need to, walk the walk instead of just faking the funk like I was doing for years when I was in Hollywood. I was literally pretending to be what I thought everyone wanted me to be. And I had the wonkiest, most miserable manifestations. Yes, I had things, but I hated my life. And I don't use the H word loosely.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
Wow, yeah. Because so I don't want to, tell us about your background. I mean, I've read about it. I don't want, if I say it, like I may not get, I might get it wrong. So
Okay.
tell us about your background. But you've been with, I know that you were in Playboy magazine and all this stuff. You were on Playboy as a radio host personality, right? And all that. So tell us more about that background.
That's right. So I actually went to school to be a doctor, and I decided that I preferred drinking and partying more than I preferred studying and going to school, much to the chagrin of my family. And I actually dropped out and I started pursuing more of the work and entertainment. When you live in Los Angeles, it's really kind of easy to pick up little work here and there just because it's everywhere. Your neighbor's a director, the person you babysat for in high school is a producer. It's like whatever. So I started just dabbling more in that because of the easy money. And I ended up finding an ad actually in the newspaper that shows you how old, how long ago it was. There was the internet. I'm not that old, but that's just not how Playboy operated. There was an ad in the Orange County Weekly publication that said, "Are you hot enough for Playboy?" And I thought, yeah. So I called the number and I set up an appointment, and the rest is history. I ended up posing for the College Girls issue, the newsstand special, and it was really going to be a one-off thing. Turned out people liked me and they wanted more of me. So I ended up doing over 29 special edition pictorials that I'm aware of. And then from there, I ended up doing red carpet interviews for Playboy TV. From there, I ended up being on two reality shows back to back, which led me to be the morning radio host on Sirius XM for Playboy Radio, which is 3 hours nonstop talk a day, no commercials. And that is what I ended up doing for my entire adult life until I quit. And, it was interesting because I had to completely become a different person. I had to literally shed all true, authentic aspects of Andrea Lowell, and I had to become a caricature of myself to fit into this mold that Playboy told me I had to be. And don't get me wrong, on the personal level, my directors, my producers, my co-hosts, lovely people. No one told me do this, do that, or the other. But it's assumed that if you don't fit into this mold, guess what? There's someone younger and there's someone hotter. So you better get in line. And it warped me. I started believing it. I started believing that I was this version of myself that was so not me. And that led to hopelessness, despair, frustration, lack of self worth. Because when you are completely inauthentic, when you derive your worth from the kind of reactions you can get from people on air. So, how crazy can I get? How over the top, kind of like Howard Stern, like how shock jockey can I be? If that's where you're deriving your worth, you're not going to really feel good about yourself if that's all you have going for you is just how outrageous, how debaucherous truly can I be. And I did that, 12, 15-ish years, kind of give or take, because it was all over the place, starting with the magazines, starting with, the red carpets, doing the reality, doing all this. It was definitely about 15 years of my adult life, which is insane. And the mathematically, you're like, well, that doesn't make sense. You're 40. 5 of those years overlapped where I was awake and I knew all the things I know now. And I was helping other women, mentoring, doing this stuff. But I was trapped in a bit of financial insecurity. And
Mhm.
so I held on to that job thinking, I'm getting one on over on them. I'm I'm in control. I know what's happening. I will play this part for these 3 hours on air, but when I go home I'm back to me and I'm of service and I'm a spiritual being and I'm, doing the things. And that finally that wore on me. And I said, I'm lying to myself. You need to stop lying to yourself. You're living in fear and you're being inauthentic. And how are you going to really truly teach other women? And don't get me wrong, I work with men too, but predominantly women. How are you going to teach women to walk through that fear and embody courage when you're over here living in an unconscious fear? And I say unconscious because it really was not on the forefront. I had to do massive digging. Why am I staying here? Why am I staying here? And the truth was, I was lying to myself. I had to get ruthlessly honest. From there, I was set free. And I stand before you, the woman today.
Wow, wow. So yeah, that's there's a lot there. I mean, so wow. I
I know it's like,
mean,
where to go?
yeah, like I had like 20 different things. I was, oh, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot there. I mean, yeah, I think that's where a lot of people get to. It's I kind of consider it somewhat of a specialty for me to help people learn how to go from usually it's the hustle kind of energy, but
Mm.
yeah, like, okay, not being yourself fully, doing the way is not authentic for you, success. And then, okay, now you're enlightened. Now you're curious, how do I scale up from there? Because I can't use my old tricks anymore. I know that's out of the question, right? So some people really struggle with that. Like how, so let's start there. Maybe we'll backtrack on some of that juicy stuff you shared already. But when you did make that decision, these decisions are so powerful. Like, okay, that's it. I'm done. I can't do this anymore. That was a huge leap of faith, I imagine, at the time. Or did you feel so settled in it, like, no, I'm not afraid even anymore. I don't care. Or, how did you feel when you made that decision? I'm curious.
It's a really great question. No one's asked me that before. I I knew I was being carried. The signs and synchronicities were so profound, so undeniable. Even if I didn't have any connection with a higher power at all, I would have started to had one because it was over the top. It was people saying exact phrases that only I said, or the numbers, like, we might see 444 or 777 a couple times a day. I was seeing it 40 to 50 times a day. I knew that the ascended masters were helping me. I knew that the archangels were helping me. I really was just like, okay, the only thing in my way is me. So I had to get ruthlessly honest with myself, and that was the scary part. But then I realized that fear was an illusion and it wasn't real at all. When I started to, really just rip that band-aid off, it was so much bliss. And I'm like, why was I so afraid of an illusion? It's
Right.
BS. And that's actually how we build courage. So when I first started waking up to the truth that I was lying to myself, I was so ready. I was so willing. There was no resistance anymore because I had been living, Daniel, in an emotional rock bottom for about 3 years. So when I had the great moment of clarity that you're lying to yourself, you need to get honest, you're the problem, take some accountability, it was almost like, oh, what a relief. I'm the problem.
Right.
That means I'm the solution. And so I got busy. And I know that that's not a typical story, especially, I do this for a living. So I know women are not that willing. Um, they're not necessarily suffering at the level I was suffering. So they might not just be like, okay, whatever you say, I'll do. But that's where I was.
Yeah.
And it was like literally, you tell me to jump, I'll say how high. You say jump off that cliff, I'll say okay. Like I was so desperate. Um, we can backtrack a little bit because people might say, well, why were you so desperate? You're beautiful, you're smart, you do have, money in the bank, you got a good man, you got a car in the garage, whatever. My coping mechanisms that I was using to make sense of my life were the exact opposite of what I needed. I was creating, Daniel, this spiritual hole, this spiritual bankruptcy that just kept growing and growing and growing. When I first started working for Playboy and I first started, going to college, I had great faith. And it was more traditional faith, but I had great faith through the process of literally stripping naked every day for cash, for having really bottom barrel conversations, really just being as outrageous as I could. um it, oh, I lost my train of thought for a second. That was really weird. That doesn't normally happen.
We're
that
into
must be
something good then.
that must be spirit being like, go left, go left. um when you start doing things that are just so out of character, this is where I was going. You have to denounce your faith to make sense of it. I
Yeah.
could not be this holy roller that I was, because I was a holy roller. I could not be this holy roller and act in the way I was acting. So, what am I going to do? Am I going to stop making cash at 19, 20 years old? You know, or am I going to say, you know what, I'm going to go back to church and I'm going to pray?
Mhm.
And so I did what probably most people would do at that age and that level of naivete, because I really look back and I'm like, you know what, you were so naive. And I slowly started to strip that essence away. And after doing this for over a decade, the work I was doing, I was 100% spiritually bankrupt. I had nothing in me. And when you are devoid of spirit, you start to fill that void with anything you can get your hands on. And these are those coping mechanisms I mentioned. I
Mhm.
was drinking crazily, where I would literally drink myself to unconsciousness nightly.
Mhm.
That's insane. Wonder why? Might I not want to think or ponder about my life choices? Maybe just drinking myself to oblivion would alleviate me from having to think about what I was doing. I was shopping, and I was shopping like alcoholically, you could say, like more, more, give me more, more. I was working with personal trainers 3 to 5 days a week. I was getting massages. So, like on paper, I'm doing all the self care, I'm doing all the things, but self care doesn't matter if you're doing it from a place where you don't even understand why you're doing it. I was literally trying to stuff this hole in my heart with every substance but spirit. So, what happens? You get more and more and more miserable. So, this is what I say: when I was desperate, I was hopeless. I was embarrassed and I was confused. And people are like, okay, now it's starting to make sense. I literally would live my life by comparison. I would look at my friends and I would say, how come they are happy? They have less than I do, or they're not even in a good relationship. Like, they're not on TV or radio. How come they're happy? How come they're having a couple of drinks at dinner and I'm over here having 10? How come, they don't have compulsive shopping and eating problems? I love to overeat. I love to stuff with food. And and I mean emotionally stuff, but maybe pun intended. So I was living in this world of anguish at the fact everyone else seems to get it. Everyone else seems to be happy. Why am I not happy? And I was jealous and I was seething with jealousy. And guess what? I had no humility. So I couldn't tell anyone. I didn't tell my husband. I didn't tell my family. In fact, I pushed my family away because my family, we don't play around. We're very not no nonsense.
Hmm.
And my mom, for example, might start asking me questions. I didn't have any good answers, Daniel. So I pushed them all away. And I would just sit on my couch night after night, hating my life, knowing I'd be dead by 40 years old if I kept drinking the way I was drinking, knowing that if I was kept thinking the way I was thinking, I was going to go insane, and not saying anything to anyone, just living in misery and shame. I didn't realize it was shame until I did the work, but I was in absolute shame and disgust and denial of the choices I was making. And I just had to keep going along with it because I couldn't intellectualize a way out of it. I kept thinking, how am I going to fix this? How am I going to fix the way I feel? But again, it's not a mind problem, it's a spiritual problem. So that's when I realized I'm the problem, I'm the solution. I have to do the opposite of everything I'm doing. And the opposite of everything I'm doing is go to God, go to source, go to spirit, go to this universal consciousness. You know, I'd been studying quantum theory for 2 decades for fun. Put that into use. You know, look to ancient wisdom. What do the Vedic texts say? You know, what does everyone say? They're all saying it's not your mind, it's not your body, it's balance of everything. And I was so out of balance, putting all the emphasis into my body, into my mind, and putting zero iota of energy into what mattered, which was my connection to the Most High. And so I realized I kept intoxicating myself on alcohol, on food, on shopping, on fame. What if I tried intoxicating myself on a spiritual connection? And
Hmm.
I actually found that spiritual ecstasy is so much greater than any drink or drug I've ever tried. And don't get me wrong, you don't live there 24/7, but to get a taste of that, you're satisfied for a year on it. So, but again, that's not balance. I can't just, be in meditation 24/7. I started cultivating this practice of rigorous honesty, going to my higher power source, um, cleaning up the dirtiness and the bad frequencies, learning how my actions were why I was miserable, because it wasn't society, it wasn't Playboy, it wasn't my family, it wasn't my husband, it wasn't my friends, it was me. And it felt good in a sick way to say, you are seriously destroying your life. So that means you can seriously fix it. You've been lying to yourself. You've been in not just denial, but delusion. All you got to do is get honest. And all you got to do is be willing to do the work.
Let me ask you a question. So what was the story? So you gave part of the story, what you're telling yourself again, because I'm sure, again, other people that have experienced similar things, right? So like, what was the story you were telling yourself again and again? Why, why are you like numbing out, like, or whatever, stuffing, et cetera, like doing the drugs, doing the drinking, and I think, to various levels, everybody is, many people are doing these things at different levels, right? Like, let me just lose myself on the internet for a while, or social media or whatever, like we do it in different ways. But what story you think you were telling yourself there? Like, what was going on? What drove you? I'm really curious about that. Like, what drove you into, now we're getting deeper, like what really drove you into that whole industry where it's like, wow, you get recognized finally, and you get the money and everything, and all that stuff. What really drove you into that? Like, I'm really curious.
Into that industry, honestly, this is going to sound ridiculous, but it was quick cash. It was so
Okay.
easy for me. And no disrespect to my Playboy sisters at all for what I'm about to say. Um, there's not many people in that industry that can hold a intellectual conversation, can go deep, can discuss, let's say again, quantum theory, for example, nutritional healing, science, da 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 da. I can speak all these languages fluently. So they kept coming to me over and over and over for work. Hey, can you interview Hugh Hefner? Hey, can you handle this red carpet? Hey, can you do this show? Can you represent us at this party? Can you do all these things? So they just kept throwing work at me. And to me, it was too easy. So truly, my laziness and complacency are what really drove me there. And then I realized this is a good thing. I'm not minding, the VIP treatment that I get. I mean, I was getting paid $5,000, $10,000 just to go to a club and sit at a booth.
Mm.
Like, why? Like, it was, and when you live in the matrix, you know what I mean? When you're just warped into the third dimensional consciousness and the group think, you think success is being famous. You think happiness is being recognized at the airport. You think being on TV is the ultimate.
Hmm.
And I bought the lie. I bought the narrative and I was living in it. And I thought I had arrived, Daniel. So to me, it was easy, it was money, and it was bragging rights. And it was all up in my ego, no
Yeah,
spirit.
yeah.
It was 100% ego driven. That's the answer in a
Well,
nutshell.
one of the things is that, because I always look at like, okay, like creating that, like at the same time, like you had a natural inclination towards, hey, what's easy, like you know what I mean? Like, let's do something amazing, and that was amazing in its own, way, even if it was a horrible life for you, but like it was amazing in its own way. um I can't, it's a big ego stroke for sure, right, to being in those positions. So at the same time, like this idea of like, it can be easy, yeah, I'm hot enough, yeah, of course, like it's a sort of confidence, sort of like it's automatic, yeah, of course, it's a no-brainer, right? And I think like that is a real gift that you have, that help to manifest all that, even though it's teaching you amazing lessons, right? But then you have all that to unpack with people now, and then you can transmit to people like, come on, it's easy, just be yourself. Like, it's kind of how I hear it, like, just be, if you're just like, be yourself, like, come on, just be naturally confident. I know it's in you, like, come on, like, this kind of what I don't know if that's what you teach at all, but like this is how it comes across to me. Like, that's a huge gift that you have.
That is part of what I teach. And so in my main offering, I have a 7 module course. It takes about 2 months. Module 4 is about that fourth week is really where my clients are at the point where we've done already some rigorous work on cleaning up our karmic residue, cleaning up some programming, seeing where our wounds, our reactions, our behaviors are stemming from. Are these my behaviors? Is this programming from my mom, society? Is this stemming from a wound? So we've done that. So now we can say, okay, who am I now? Once I strip down my core essence, who am I? Where do I derive my self worth? What do I value in life? Am I looking at what I value, and do my actions, thoughts, and words matriculate with that? Is there congruency between what I truly care about as a human being and what I'm doing? And usually there's no congruency. And then we start to say, okay, these are the things I value. So I have my clients identify what they value, and I have them identify where they're putting their energetic currency. If they don't line up, I say, let's start putting some energetic currency into the things you value. And then true self confidence, self worth, and self concept. What I think about myself, what I believe about myself is then cultivated. And when we started this conversation, we talked about how I was manifesting through my beliefs about myself alone. And yeah, they were derived from cockiness and superiority and ego,
Yeah.
but they were my beliefs. If I now believe that I am unconditional love, in this human form, if I am allowance and acceptance and grace and dignity, if I'm honesty and compassion, then what am I going to start attracting into my life? What am I going to create if that's what I believe?
Mhm.
And when we start calling in these miracles, because now we're a miracle magnet through that belief system, which is shooting out this frequency of crazy abundance in all ways, we start to really derive confidence, really derive true self-esteem, because now I'm doing esteem decks. Now I have so much overflow of abundance of joy and love and acceptance and all these things that I want to do nothing but be of service. And this really trips people out because they're like, that doesn't sound good. I don't want to be of service. Like, I want to manifest a cool house, or like, I want abundance, but like, this service thing doesn't sound great. That sounds, ugh. But once you become so full of purpose and self worth, and you know who you are, and you are authentically rocking your life, you want to show other people how to get happy and how to cultivate that true self-worth. So you actually desire to be of service, even though it sounds like the last thing that we have time for. That's just how it works.
Well, and some of our some people I'm listening, I'm sure resonate with service, but yeah, you're
Yeah.
right. Sometimes it just sounds like a burden, like, oh, I'm gonna have to be of service. Oh, great. I hear where you're coming from on that. I love that you talked about the cockiness and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious if some of our listeners, some of them at least, like they've gotten cocky, and then so I know it for me, like I think about my own self, and it's like, yeah, again, I always say, like, just ask people around me more regularly. I can come across as the most confident person on the planet. I feel like as much as confidence as anybody. Like, yeah, this is I'm doing this. This is gonna happen. It's going down. Yeah, you see that guy in America's Got Talent? Yeah, I could be even better than that, or whatever it is. I'm just like, yeah, I can do it and better. Like always with that. But what I learned about that within myself is there's another part of me. I think is the other side of it. That's like, that's kind of like, oh, people have underestimated me before. And, just try to underestimate me and just watch what happens. So I'm kind of curious, like, it was where that spark came from for you, like, because maybe it helps people, navigate it for themselves. Like, because like what I'm hearing you say now is like, I'm in true self-esteem. I'm in my deeper true power rather than, yeah, I can manipulate things and make things happen and all that because I'm so confident and all this stuff. But from that deeper present state, it sounds like more is what you're cultivating in people. But I'm curious, like, do you realize, like, for yourself, like, there's a flip side of that sort of confidence where, like, oh, now I feel bad about myself or whatever. I don't know. It looks different ways maybe for different people.
What a phenomenal question. So, I've mentioned briefly that I'm super into quantum mechanics and quantum theory. It's something I would study for fun my entire life. And what I know is that narcissism and self pity are the same vibration.
Hmm.
And when you take that self pity, for me, which was a truly deep, hidden inferiority complex, because again, even though I had it all, I was still jealous of everyone. And
Yeah.
I hated everyone for having happiness. I hated them. So,
Mhm.
what does someone do? I have to mask that insecurity. I have to mask that jealousy as superiority, as ultimate confidence. And that might manifest in some narcissistic behaviors, such as trying to control people or at least control the way people see me. I could, yeah, the true, someone who's truly riddled in self pity would never let you know that they are that low. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And that became my survival skill. So to survive my I'm less than belief, I had to become more than. So no one had any idea that I hated myself because I just came across as this super confident. I remember my phrase I'd always say was, "Oh my God, I'm amazing. How are you? Oh my God, I'm amazing."
Mhm.
It was like lying to myself, lying to everyone. And it was truly a, like I said, survival skill. There was no truth to it. So it was that paradox of I am so insecure that I have a superiority complex.
Yeah, yeah, and that's what I always feel. It's like when you're standing in that kind of energy, like there's the other side of it where it's just kind of protecting you, right? Like, I'm so strong, you can't possibly get in at that vulnerable aspect of myself. I'll show you. I'll control the heck out of all myself and you and everything. And yeah, and that's interesting to me. So was it a process for you to go from, like, I love the thing with responsibility. I really wanted to talk about that. I know I've slipped at times in my life with that. I'm like, I can be so like, oh yeah, I'm at everything's just me, I'm out of, look at that. That's all me, 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 me. And it's so liberating. You're right. Like it is liberating. It's like the opposite. Oh, you suck because you manifested that, like that's where it gets to be a problem sometimes. I was in science of mind, and sometimes that kind of vibration was around like, well, what do you manifest? Well, you got some crap going on. Oh, you're not at a higher level, right? It get really, really crazy,
Right?
It's like, instead of like, yeah, this is just what's happening. Why make a big deal of it? Let's take a look. But
Right.
looking, that could become a whole game of who's the fastest shot in the West here, on the manifestation and how strong we are with all these principles. But yeah, just learning to realize we don't, we can be vulnerable. I mean, first of all, that we can be totally vulnerable, totally transparent, that we can be responsible. Like that's exactly what I
Mm,
always say. Like it's a gift to once you start taking responsibility. Like, oh, these are things
mm.
I'm suffering for. I'm creating them. Good. Like just like you said, then I can do something about it. But too many people get caught up in the judgment, like of others, but it's really themselves. Like, oh, if I created that, I'm a horrible person, or I'm totally failing, and I feel bad about myself. And it's like, no, you're just judging yourself. It doesn't mean anything. It just means pay attention, learn, evolve, grow, shift, change if you choose. So I love that you talked about that. That's so important.
Oh my gosh, you just hit so many nails on the head. So I can talk about my own experience about being in that state of misery. And why was I miserable? Because I wasn't taking responsibility. Let's break down what responsibility may mean. To respond with ability. I
Mm.
was not responding with any ability. I kept repeating the mistakes, not learning, not expanding, not growing. So every time I would get a lesson from the universe, let's say, I would not pass the test. I would fail miserably because, again, I try to intellectualize my way out of a spiritual problem. And again, part of my superiority complex, oh, I'm so smart, I could figure this out. But I couldn't figure it out, so I was miserable. I was responding with zero ability because I was taking no responsibility or accountability. And the lessons kept getting harder and harder and louder and louder. And finally it just became a breaking point where it's like, if you do not wake up, you are just going to cease to exist. Like, you can't continue living like this. So I encourage people to respond with ability. And that doesn't mean that you have to be 100% self-mastered today. It means respond with where you are. Be where you are right now, because it is so divine where you are. We can't just jump from here to a million in a day after like one practice. We have to be where we are, like kind of master that level and then go to the next. So I tell people it's like a staircase. I don't look at the top of the staircase. I do the step in front of me to the best of my ability, and then I move on. And that doesn't mean I do it perfectly, because what is perfection? Is that an illusion? It's so subjective. Just do your best. Don't look at the enormity of the staircase, which might be like enlightenment. Oh, that sounds like a daunting task.
We
You
got to
know,
get there. We got to get to enlightenment, right?
to me, enlightenment means having nothing inside of you but inner peace,
Hmm.
like being unshakably serene. So
Hmm.
I don't want to look at the enormity of that, because that sounds like a lot of work. But instead, I'll look at that first step in front of me. And if that first step is self honesty, or that first step is, getting to know the illusory reality of the world we live in, universal law, natural law, whatever that first step is for someone, that's what I'm going to focus on. That's where I'm at. That's what I'm going to master to the best of my ability, and then go to that next step. And if we take it one little step at a time, each progressive step is actually so fun and so exciting, because life just keeps getting better and better. This is not, a college class. This is not something where we are graded on it. Literally, our higher power source will give us the perfect situation, the perfect mentor, the perfect program, or lessons, or anything for our own awakening. And for me, That was absolute hopelessness and despair to shake me into awakening so that I can fulfill my purpose, which is to show other people out of their own stagnation. And they don't have to go to the low levels of despair that I went to. I can say, hey, if we don't get a handle on where you're going, you could end up there. Don't go where I went.
Right.
But I wouldn't be able to teach it if I didn't truly know that contrast of like darkness to light.
Right. Right. Yeah, I mean, yeah, for me, it's just, it's always, yeah, it looks like it's something on the outside. Okay, I've got this life situation. I'm feeling very dark and heavy and, I mean, depressed, suicidal kind of ideas, not, never totally serious. In my mind, maybe serious, but never doing anything. Homicidal, even, right? Hate them all, kill them all. Like, even to that level. Like, I mean, it's so like to this day, I love heavy metal. It's like, because there's a divine righteousness in that vibration too. Like, damn it, let's sharpen up. Yeah, let's go. So there's a lot in there. And so I think, yeah, awakening, enlightenment, all this stuff, like it all, like it's all conceptual still, right? And it's, there is no enlightened, perfect enlightenment.
Correct.
It's one of the things I think people have to realize. Like, there is no perfect enlightenment. You're going to experience a deeper awakening and permanence in your energy of this amazing energy that's really you, but you're still going to experience, stuff, and I haven't met any of them, any of the great masters, Eckhart, all of them. I can see it in them. I'm a reader. I can see all the stuff. I can see what's going on. So no one gets there, so to speak. This ultimate static place that everybody wants, thinks we want. It's an ego trick. It's not real. And so I love that you said that, and it's a progression. And I think yeah. To me, we're talking about this being effortless, right? The effortless self-mastery. I think it becomes effortless when you realize I just need to be here now. What do I need to focus on just right now? And it's that easy. It's like we don't need to do 100 million different. It's almost like, oh my God, I got to get there. I got to take courses. I got to do everything right away. And or it's all so desperate I can never get there anyway, but I'll kind of try. Or all these. It's like, be mindful, be present, just take one step at a time. And so it sounds like that's along the lines of what you're teaching, right? From what I
Yes.
heard. Yeah.
Oh my God, so much yes. Kind of to go back to what you said about no one being at that perfect static place of enlightenment. We came here as human beings to have this body and this mind as the operating system and the platform through which we experience this realm. So that means we came here to be human, to have a full spectrum of emotions and mental processes that create doubt and fear. And we're here to persevere them, right? If I was supposed to be in a bliss state 24/7, I'd still be out in the ether. I'd still
Mhm.
just be, consciousness floating around. I came here to experience stuff.
Mhm.
So I love that you tapped on that because don't get me wrong, we can experience bliss states 100%, but to have the notion that I will be there in perpetuity can be a pipe dream. Don't get me wrong, I've lived there for a while, but
Mhm.
I've come back down and now I'm like, oh, there's deeper work to do,
Yes.
right? And the only time that we think, aha, I've got it, eureka, I'm the ultimate, just, call me a saint, just meditating on the top of a Himalayan mountain. That is such an ego trap. That
Yes.
is
Totally.
such an ego trap. You're never done, at least in this realm that I've experienced. We're not done. So when it comes to effortless ease, because effortless ease is the way that I teach manifestation. It's the way that I teach living. And I mentioned universal law and natural law. We have to look to natural law as our guidepost. When I look at the effortless ease of nature, like let's look at a storm, even. It is chaotic, it is powerful, it is crazy, it can take whole cities down. But did it sit there and think, how am I going to orchestrate this? Oh gosh, let me bust out a calculator, a pencil, an abacus, maybe some feathers, a sound bowl. Let me wait for half of a full moon. And, is it waning? Is it waxing? Let me just, no, it doesn't do any of that. It just is. It just allows,
Mhm.
right? So people are like, okay, I don't know if I vibe with that example. Look at any plant. Look and a while go out to nature. Go on a hike and look at a tree and say, did that tree that has deep roots that share nutrients with trees around it, that provide shade and an ecosystem for birds and other animals, that is so strong and grand and beautiful, providing sap and all these things. Did it try to do that? Did it, or is it just effortless ease? Is it exactly who it intended to be because it allows itself to follow through with that intention? So everything in this world is energy and intention. So how does a skin cell know to be a skin cell and a liver cell to be a liver cell when it's the exact same stuff? It's the same substance, carbon, phosphorus, whatever. The intention behind it. So if I allow myself to fulfill the intention behind my soul mission, whew, Daniel, I just got full body chills. I even a little emotional right now. It is so blissed. It is so effortless when I just allow myself to fulfill the intention of what I came here to be. And that doesn't mean that I don't live life on life's terms and I don't have turbulence and I don't have arguments. It means that I keep my purpose as my primary purpose. I'm not here to argue. I'm not here to be right. I'm here to have fun and explore, but I'm here to fulfill my soul mission. And my soul mission, it has evolved and it has changed. I've been a personal trainer. I've been a nutritionist. I've taught people how to heal themselves through disease. And right now, I'm a self-mastery mentor. And I'm loving this stage of my purpose. And that's another thing too. People think, I got to figure out my purpose. I got to figure it out now. No, look to the tree. I'll just allow your purpose to flow through you by being in trust and in faith. Because guess what? That tree doesn't sit there and think, did God mess up? Am I the right kind of tree? Should I be a pine tree, not a ponderosa? Like, oh my God, what, do these weeping willow branches make my butt look big? Like, it's not. It's not living in that. And yes, we do have that consciousness that a tree doesn't have. We have a different reality than it has, but that's what we chose to be. But we can still look to nature because we're a part of nature. Only our ego tells us that we're not. Oh, I'm evolved past that. I'm too smart. I'm highly intelligent. You're still a part of nature. That's why we suffer dis-ease, because we detach from our nature. So once we get back to our true nature, which is uncertain, which is effortless, that's when we experience that bliss. So I implore everyone, if you're having a bad day, go for a hike, go bathe in the forest, just listen to bird song, watch a hummingbird, look at how perfect it is and how resilient every natural thing is. It's so resilient.
Yeah, I mean, with the trees, just recently, I was just, I look at trees at lunch every day, and I was just really struck this the other day, and I think it was right after I'd gone to the woods that week, nearby here, but I was looking at it, I'm like, everybody goes on, in it's coaching type of industry or whatever you want to call it, like make all this money, do it, and you got to grow more. It's always in personal development too. You got to go higher, you got to go bigger. You're still playing small, and like I always say, like everybody's playing small. I can say, you're playing so small. My God, there's so much more potential. I can say that to any person on the planet that they're playing small. They're not where they should be at, right? There's so much more. What's wrong with you? Like I could give that message all day long to anybody on the planet, because we're infinite. So there's always a sense there's more. We're not nearly that vastness, right? We're never going to be in this physical body, the vastness. So that's where I think the balancing of that ego that says like, well, we can grow more. Like look at the tree. There's a tree. Like I was thinking the same exact thing the other day, like a few days ago. Like the tree just is holding this immense presence. It doesn't have to do anything. It's just being. It's just being. It'll grow if it's time to grow. The leaves will fall off. It's time for the leaves to fall off. Like that's why I've been increasingly. I talk to my clients about this. I'm like, well, I don't know. Is what's right to be picked in your life right now? Like rather than what you think you should be doing. Well, maybe I better do this. Maybe I better do that. So what I've found for myself with that and for others is it tends to create unnecessary suffering. Like, oh, I got this big thing, ah! And then there's the crash. There's always the inevitable crash after the high, right? Oh my God, I created a monster. Like, I can't stand this business I created now, right? And then you got to dismantle it all anyway, and that's a big mess. So I think that's so awesome that you brought up you brought up that example. It's so true. It's like, yeah, we might not be trees, but we are connected to that, and we do have a natural state, and I love all the stuff out there, human design, all this different things that kind of can reveal that, I don't like anything to limit me, I'm like, okay, don't
Right.
tell me who I am. I know who I am. I like to learn from it, right? So it's like, okay, like, chill out, just be more of the essential nature of who you are. Why can't it ever be enough? Like I always say, it never gets any better than it is right now. It really doesn't. In an
Right.
absolute sense, it never gets better. And I could go on and on. I mean, I know this effortless thing you're talking about. Like I've taught courses on it myself. It's like you don't even think about it and it comes to you. Like you barely have an awareness. It's like a small awareness. Oh, I think this
Right.
thing's coming in my life. Oh, okay, whatever. And then all of a sudden then it happens, right? There it is. Oh my God. I was just thinking about having that in my life. And then and then when you're not striving for it, things can just drop in naturally. So anyway, I've gone on.
Yes.
So
I
anyhow,
love that, but I want to just add to what you're saying
yeah,
real
yeah,
quick because I know we're running out of time. But
yeah.
the way that you and I are able to do that is
Mhm,
because we have faith.
mhm,
I don't believe in my higher power. I don't believe in God, the universe. I know the
mhm,
universe. I
mhm,
know intimacy with God. I
mhm,
know my higher power. So
mhm,
of course I'm not going to suffer with the coulda, shoulda, wouldas. And is this going to work out? No, no, no. I believe at the core of my soul, which translates to knowing that everything is perfect and everything is an opportunity for me to grow and learn from,
mhm,
or it's just a leaping pad of expansion. Everything is happening for me, not to me. I look at
mhm,
my life experience. Everything was an opportunity for me to go to expanded consciousness and deeper faith and a more blissful life. So,
mhm,
guess what? My higher power source didn't bring me this far to bring me this far. Like, and I believe that. I know that. So
mhm,
I want to encourage our listeners that if they are suffering, that they might want to start cultivating their relationship with their higher power source a little bit deeper, because that is truly the secret sauce that has set me free and kept me out of the mental storm of coulda, shoulda, woulda, and doubt.
mhm.
And I just surrender to faith.
Yes, yes, totally, totally. So I know you're all about raising those vibrations and all that. So you want to tell people how you got a free gift for it, I know, and then you've got your courses, but I know you had a free gift you wanted to share with people today.
Yeah. So, one of the ways that I keep my vibration high and my clients keep their vibration high is through gratitude and constant contact with our respective higher power sources. And I've created a free guide that I'd love to gift your listeners, that is going to include what I do as a daily practice and my clients do, and just some suggestions that aren't going to take extra time out of their day. I remember, like I said, laziness was my main objective with working in the entertainment industry. I still kind of have those same ideals. Like, I don't want to set aside more time. So, how can I incorporate this raised vibration thing into what I'm already doing? And it's a really great way to start realizing I can embody the vibe and walk the walk of the vibe without having to create more rituals in this busy world we live in. So I love to offer my free Raise Your Daily Vibration guide to the listeners and help them start cultivate this frequency of unconditional love and gratitude.
Awesome, awesome. And so we'll put a link in the show notes for it. And then if people want to find you online, just I'm sure they'll find you, right? But where are some of the places?
um, the I Am Everything Project, and it is the I Am Everything Project on Instagram. There's another I Am Everything Project I just discovered that is not me. Mine has a the. Also, AndreaLowell.com. Also, if you go into Instagram and just type in Andrea Lowell, I should pop up as the I'm Everything Project. There you can get all of my freebies. You can sign up for one-on-one mentorship. You can sign up for 2 months with me, a year with me. You could even just set up a single session if people would like. But I do a lot of free teachings on my page. I just can't stop teaching. I love it, love it, love it. And I love kind of just being people's Instagram mentor as well. But also, yeah, AndreaLowell.com will have my hub for everything, as well as the I'm Everything Project on Instagram.
Okay, beautiful, perfect. So, all right, great. Well, we're at the part of the show where I do some tuning in with my guests. So, are you ready?
Yes, hit me with it.
Awesome. All right. Okay. So usually I get like 2 or 3 things particularly to share. So let's see what comes through, and then we can review what came through. So let me just tune in. So many different things, but yeah, I mean, this deepening surrender, I think is the constant direction. It's like I just see, um, I don't know, I just see it like the word Madonna comes into my awareness, like I'm not great on factual stuff, but like sometimes, but so it depends on what it is. But like this, like this, just reverence, this deepening,
Mm.
this constant surrender, like just that it keeps wanting to deepen. And I think that is like that is like the teaching. Like this is the teaching. It's like give it up. Like that's the teaching. So that's what's coming through really strong. And so you represent that big time. So let's see what else is coming through. Okay, well, yeah, maybe this could be helpful. So yeah, I just pick out the things I think might be interesting to share at this point. So like, I just get like that people might think, well, that doesn't sound sexy or fun or what, whatever. Let's do something that's cooler than that. Let's not just surrender. So, but I think what people don't understand, and I know you do, and I understand this, but it's like this when you get connected in the surrender state, everything's like 1,000 times funner, like you kind of mentioned before. It's like everything's more ecstatic, everything's better, in terms of your experience. So it's funner, it's more creative, it's actually is sexier, or whatever words you want to use. It's awesome, it's so cool. So I think like that's the thing you can keep pointing to when people are like, surrender, wait a minute, like I don't know if that's so fun, like no, it's funner than ever. So just getting into make sure that you keep sharing that. Let's see what else is going to come through. I keep seeing I see you. I think I see you skating. I keep seeing you skating. So, so it's like there's something. I don't know if you've skated before, but like ice skating, like I get this. Okay, just kind of. It's like you get so synced up by doing something like that. Like that puts you in this great rhythm of your energy. It's like just, oh yeah, just one step at a time. And so it's just like, see how we go, just one step at a time. And because there's that part, it's like, man, it's like again, it's a character, it's an energy inside you. It's not the essential you. Okay, so no offense with this, but like there's like that evil witch energy in there. Yeah, I'll get them all. And so so it's still around. It's not like it's disappeared. So but when you by doing different things like that, like yeah, all the high vibe stuff, but like especially things when you feel the flow, like now you don't feel like you're less than. You don't feel like you have to control things. You don't feel like anything else is needed. It keeps embodying and anchoring it in you because we all have our moments. So like it's in your design, to become very frustrated and angry and why is it working? And So it's just like, yeah, just to simmer down and just to get back into that flow again and again. And you just can really demonstrate to people the magic that's around every corner, and like hidden magic. Like they don't, it's right here, like looking for a treasure. Like they're looking everywhere for it. And you're like, it's right here. Didn't you look right here? I mean, it's right in front of you. I mean, that's right in you. So that's like a brilliance that you have. Just lots of angels, lots of energy going on there. But it's almost like there's an abandonment sort of idea in it. Like, you guys brought me here, you made me do this. Like a lot of us like have some of that in us, and it's like, screw you, I'll do something totally different. And like now you're like, okay, maybe I'll listen now. And you are. So just continuing to realize, man, you're so supported. Or like oh my God, the miracles that want to happen through you, for not only you, but the grace and the miracles you can manifest and help to manifest in other people's lives. Like I don't know if it could be young women and kids or something or whatever. I just get a feeling like a charitable kind of magic you're bringing out there to bring things into a energy where everything's working better. So you can transmit an energy that brings everything into its coherence. Like that's just natural for you. You don't have to do much of anything. Like it just put your energy on it a little bit, and all of a sudden it starts getting more coherent. So it's very interesting because you've got a strong make it happen no matter what, but then you've got this magic. So anyway, I'll leave it at that. But any quick reflections or thoughts?
Well, I know exactly what you're saying with all of that.
Okay.
So spot on, Daniel. Yeah, I think you're right. One of the things that I've always referred to myself as with my work is like extremely reverent, and that was one of the words you used.
Yeah, yeah,
Also, my kind of not self is frustration, and you also said that word.
yeah.
And my biggest thing is I have to remember, and I may get frustrated with my husband, for example. We've been together 20 years,
Mhm.
and my not self, my lower self, my ego self will say, what can I do to fix him? What can I get him to do to get more on my page? What can I do to get him to make me happy? And
Mhm.
the answer is, I will always be frustrated if I'm focusing on him and what he's doing wrong. Once I put the focus back on me and cultivating my frequency, cultivating my reverence to my higher power source, being of
Mhm.
service and walking the walk, that's when nothing can bother me. And he actually, when I let go of trying to hold on to his awakening, I let go, I allow that space energetically for his higher power source to come in and work through him. And his healing actually happens way more rapidly when I do detach from it. So everything you said was spot on. And I just love that. And I love teaching that effortless magic that is everywhere around us. And like you said, you do have to, do a little bit of action, but that's that intention I talked about. Take
Yeah.
that intention, put it into some willingness, maybe take a few tiny actions, but for the most part, it's effortless.
Yes, 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 yes,
You
yes.
nailed, Daniel, you nailed it. You're
All
amazing.
right. Awesome. So awesome. And everybody, again, if you want to check me out, you go to yoursacredpurpose.com. Not only check me out, if you want to rock, you go ahead and get yourself together with me with a Rock Your Sacred Purpose energy scan. I'll tune into you and bring you into awareness of who you really are and how things can operate and come into fruition for your soul's mission and purpose, your sacred purpose. So check that out at yoursacredpurpose.com. And also there's a free meditate, make money meditation there that you keep listening to it, you just keep getting more connected, more downloads, and all the higher guidance and all the good stuff starts dialing in. So check that out, meditate, make money for free at yoursacredpurpose.com. All right. So as we're wrapping up, do you have any very last words, Andrea?
I just want people to know that you can be the master of your life. You can become your own guru. You can experience personal freedom and have a blissful outlook. You can start manifesting in harmony with, the universe, your higher power. And it's about living that life of inspiration, of being in spirit, living from that higher expanded consciousness. And all it takes is some self awareness, some inner and overstanding of how this whole thing works. And that intention to be the best version of yourself and being okay with the mistakes we make as we grow. And I just want to let people know they have everything they need inside of them. And that's why my Instagram is the I Am Everything Project. You are everything you need. There is nothing outside of you. And I'm just so honored that people, listen to this episode and that they're a part of our story now, Daniel. So, and I want to thank you too. I'm really honored.
Thank you. Thank you. Likewise. And so grateful to have you on today. And thank you for all our listeners. So thank you for tuning in. And as I say, keep on tuning in. We'll keep on rocking it here at Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. Till the next time.
Listening to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. Stay tuned for our next upcoming new episodes each Saturday. Please be sure to subscribe, rate, and review to help us to serve you best. As a reminder, you can get your free Meditate and Make Money meditation at www.yoursacredpurpose.com to rock your sacred purpose. Goodbye for now, everybody.